Shabbat. Hi, Chris. Can you give me a little bit of a crisp more? That's good. And let's make sure the guitar is on top. It's on, no, it's not on. Let's see how this goes. You have it. Am I on, Chris? What is it? Opening us a little bit just to have the kids more accessible. And this is too close. Make this a little bit. She did awesome yesterday.
Yeah.
She was fantastic.
Yeah. Just it felt a little like
Da, 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 da,
charting, but I think once we got like 3 pairs in,
It was great. I feel like a very special way to communicate with her. I don't know if that's true or not. I feel that sometimes I'm talking to her and she kind of gets what I'm so kind of. She's adorable. Anyway.
thank you.
How are you? Good to see you.
What's going on?
I cannot accommodate this. Someone touched this and it's
What is
totally
this?
open.
This isn't yours. Not yours. Hold on.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Nice to meet you. I know.
Yes, okay.
Nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. You're on Facebook, by the way.
That's not his microphone.
Oh, that's not your microphone. That is.
And it's totally open for some reason.
It's what?
It's like I cannot fit that on my ear.
Yeah.
I try.
Let's go find your other microphone.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Good to see you. We have a few more minutes apparently.
Okay, yes, good.
Shalom, shalom.
How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Very good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Why you don't come to Torah study? I miss you. Every Saturday morning, I sit along with Julia and like when I like 20 Jews, and we
I
feel so
always
lonely.
have something.
Yes,
There's
yeah,
always
I just
something.
want you to feel guilty a little bit.
It's working.
I'm kind of in this intimidated distance from you. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. I can't forget.
Now that the owl is working, then there's really no excuse, right?
He's a man, like it's a man, it's okay. Good Shabbos. See you. With your family. When did you arrive?
This afternoon.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh, how are you, James? Hi. Ah, 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 ah.
Oh, bright sun.
What?
The sun.
Yes. Come here. The first one. Come on. I'm gonna you have an easy access. This is your place.
Do you want me to move the talit? Is that going to bother you behind you? Okay.
Yeah, I kind of. It feels lonely to me. It feels very. I actually would like that, but we are not set for that this time. But maybe next time.
I'm chopped liver, so.
Well, I actually intentionally distanced you. Because you go step backward. But yeah, we see that for the kids to open the ark later on, kind of it gets more complicated. Okay. Let's check that we are tuned. Let's try it again together. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
It is so nice to welcome Shabbat in communities. So nice to have like this sunny Shabbatot that are characteristic of the spring. And And why are we so focused on the spring? Because Passover, one of the names of Passover is, yeah, close enough, Chag Aviv, the holiday of spring. No, his voice fine, Trista. Don't worry. It was close enough. So, the holiday of spring, and we start noticing changes in nature, and when we look around, we start seeing how our environment changes. And one of the most beautiful things, at least for me, during this time of the year, is to have the sun up there at the beginning of Shabbat, and to have this respite of light accompanying us. It is also Shabbat of Parashat Tzav, the second Torah portion in the book of Vayekra, of Leviticus, and we will talk about that later on, and we will read that Torah portion tomorrow morning. And where's Mackenzie? And Mackenzie will be coming up to the Torah and will be reading from the Torah, and she will become a bat mitzvah in the eyes of the community. Many joys, many simchas in this Shabbat. Also Shabbat Agadol. Who knows what Shabbat Agadol is? The great Shabbos. The Shabbat before Pesach. You are absolutely right. It's the great Shabbos, and traditionally there were two Shabbatot in which rabbis delivered sermons. One was Shabbat Agadol, and the other one was Shabbat Shubah. So it was twice a year, not twice a week. And it has changed. The profession has changed over the years. But these were like the big sermons. So I'll speak for 45. No, don't worry. So we'll have some conversation, some prep for Pesach, lots of things to prepare for Pesach. Passover is a holiday that is founded, is grounded in our ability and in our willingness to prepare. And as we don't want to run too fast and too far before preparing for Pesach, we want to prepare for Shabbat. We will turn our Sidurim to page 129. We will commence this Shabbat singing from the Songs of the Songs. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine.
Dodi li vani lo haroem bashoshanim. Dodi li v'yizotola min hamidbar. Mizotola min hamidbar. Dodi li vani lo haroem bashoshanim. Dodi li mekuteret moru levona, Dodi li vani lo haroem bashoshanim. Dodi li.
We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 122. We'll invite our bat mitzvah mom and family to light Shabbat candles. Elohim olam mitzivanu madlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom. תודה רבה. Shabbat shalom. We will now turn our Sidorim to page 130 as we walk toward welcoming Shabbat. 7 Psalms, each one of them in front of one of the days of the week,
And these are in the blue bracketed numbers if you're looking for the page.
reminding us to make our time count, that every single day count. To walk to welcoming Shabbat. Lechu neranena. We're on page 130.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai nariya litzu yishenu nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nariya lo nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nariya lo.
We are on page 131. Shir Adonai, Shir Hadash.
Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Hadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basru miyom leyom, Yeshuato, Sapru v'goyim, Kevodo, Bechol ha'amim, נפלאותיו. ילאי לי 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 לי, ילאי לי לי, ילאי לי לי לי, ילאי לי לי לי, ילאי לי לי, ילאי לי לי, ילאי לי לי לי, ילאי לי לי, ילאי לי לי.
On page 132, Adonai malachta gel haaretz, yitzmechu ihim rabim, or saru ala sadik, ulishrei lehev simcha. A light is shown to the righteous and to the seekers of mitzvot, of commandedness, of commitment. There's a path for joy. Mizmor Shir Adonai, Shir Hadash, on page 133. Ki niflahot asa. Shabbat is an invitation to somehow rediscover the many wonders that we have in our lives, in our worlds, the many things that we sometimes take for granted. It's a moment to stop and observe. As we turn our Sidorim to page 134, we take a moment to think about some of the things that we are carrying and that we need to leave behind as we want to enter a different time. Shabbat of peace, Shabbat of rest. So some of the things that we might be carrying over the week, it's important to take a moment to look at them, to acknowledge them, and to put them aside. We'll meet them in 25 more hours. They will wait for us. And we put them aside in order to make space, to recognize, to embrace, to celebrate the wonders, the creations that we have in our world. Page 134.
Samru l'Adonai bechino, bechino v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yom hayamum lo.
שמעו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. We are on page 136 from מזמור לדוד, Psalm 29.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בני אלים. מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני כבני אלים. מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן. אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני עוז
Page 137.
לעמו ייתן. אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. די 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 אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן. אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן. אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. Page 138. We welcome the Shabbos bride. לך דודי לקרא קטלה. We welcome the majestic presence of Shabbat. We'll sing the first, the second, the fifth, the sixth, and the ninth verses of Lecha Dodi. And in the ninth verse, we will invite you to rise and to turn toward the entrance of the synagogue as we acknowledge this majestic presence, the entrance of the majestic presence in our space.
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמעו וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם והסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה.
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שתדברי. פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי
לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תיכלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי. מהר שיחסו עניי ימי, ונבנתה עיר על תילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה,
פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
While you're standing, we want to dedicate a moment to acknowledge each other's presence, to say, as we have said welcome to Shabbat, to say welcome to each other. So we encourage you to go around the room and to notice faces that you might know, but particularly if you recognize a face that you don't know, to say good Shabbat, say Shabbat Shalom. Voy kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Voy kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Voy kala. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוי כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוי כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוי כלה. Let's add one more layer to this. It's your responsibility to reach out to someone. So make sure that if nobody has said Shabbat Shalom to you, it's because of you. You need to go and say Shabbat Shalom. You need to say Shabbat Shalom. Actively engage in saying good Shabbat. Voy kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Voy kala. Voy kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Voy kala. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי כלה. בואי כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי כלה. מה כנסי? You might remain standing. בואי כלה. We turn our sidurim to page 144. Take that microphone. For חצי קדיש. Page 144, חצי קדיש. אמן. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכו בית ישראל.
וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהלל ויתהלל שם קודשך בריחו מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועמם Amen.
We'll now turn our theory into page 146 for Baruch. We'll turn toward Jerusalem, which is in that direction. Baruch et Adonai
המבורך
Please join me on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzebaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ama'ariv Aravim. On page 150. Before the Shema, we take a moment to think about loving legacies in our lives.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. בעבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
152.
שמע
Shema Yisrael
Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אמת, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת ומן הכל צודק הים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. We continue with the silent reading over page 156. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God, mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai. We are on page 158. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. נורת תהילות אוסף אלה, נורת תהילות אוסף אלה, אלי אלי מלכותך רבו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, צאלי אנו ויאמרו, עוד צאלי אנו ויאמרו, אלי 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 As it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own, from a challenge that seemed to be, that was perceived as impossible, as the sea of reeds for the Israelites. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch Ata Adonai, Gaal Israel. And as we have recited, have said the blessing of redemption, we also ask for the freedom to be builders of calm, of peace, of internal peace. We're on page 160.
Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim.
Ushmotzetenu uvoenu lechaim ushalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim.
Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ushmotzetenu
uvoenu lechaim ushalom me'ata ve'ad olam. The bottom of page 160. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over the holy city, the city of Shalom. ירושלים, ברוך אתה אדוני הפרסוקת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. A covenant, a ברית within and between generations. As I like to paraphrase אחד העם, it's not that the Jewish people kept Shabbat alive. It's rather that Shabbat kept the Jewish people alive. And I think about that in the context of our modern lives. The possibility to find space for rest, to create a time in which we can distinguish from the rest of the times and experiences that we have in our lives. A moment to celebrate, to observe, to recognize our own creations. It is an invitation for every single generation to keep our heads above the water. And with that idea, we will turn our Sidurim to page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. We will invite you to please rise and to turn toward Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, our eternal capital. And as we turn to Yerushalayim, you can follow along the words of our tradition, the words of the Sidur. Alternatively, dedicate a moment, some time for your Tfilah Shebalev, the prayer of your heart. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. We continue in silence. תגיבו לעולם העיניים, חמיתי יותר רב ליושי. המתים, אתה קדוש, אתה אדוני, אל הקדוש, אתה קידשת את יום השביעי, תחליט מה זה בארץ, חולי השמיים, בארץ וחצובה. ואלו בנו ימותנו וימותנו, ורוצה בנו חדנו כאשר מצוותך פשע. לעובדיך אמר, מקלילים אדוני אלוהינו, והוא רוצה שבת קודשך, והנחו בה ישראל, מקדשי שמך ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת, רוצה אדוני אלוהינו, מחסד לו ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ותהי לרצון תמיד. עבודת ישראל עמך אל קרוב לכל קרב, פני ואמרנו אנחנו נשת אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו וימותנו לעולם ועד. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צולי בגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you אדוני, my rock and my redeemer. We are at the bottom of page 180. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel and all who inhabit the earth. And let us say
Amen.
at this point in our service, we add to our Shabbat prayers one more prayer for those that are dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls. We pray for those that are carrying grief. We think of those. We pray for those dealing with addictions. If there is a name that you'd like to bring up in this Erev Shabbat, please do so as we go around the room.
Bruce Roberts, Stuart Mass, Alfreda Massman, Diane Siegel, Jill Becker, Gail Franco, Scott Van Gundy, Daphne Talmor, Mira Engel, Dave Stahl, Greg Herb, Murray Siegel, Ron Victor, Marvin Lombard, Laura Sternberg, Kim Baker, Richard Ravitch, former member of Shir Hadash, Bernice Paris, mother of Carol Paris, Franklin Wolfson, son-in-law of Susan Deniston, Lillian Sidlow, mother of Beth Sidlow Mann and mother-in-law of Andrew Mann, Joshua Medwin, brother of Elisa Dunlap.
We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 371 for the blessing, for the prayer for healing. Misheverach.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mekor of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Wish to all of them, to all of you, to all of us, רפואה שלמה, a complete recovery, החלמה מהירה, fast recovery or well-being as much as possible. Shabbat shalom, everybody. A nice Shabbat. It's the Shabbat before Pesach. I don't know how that works in your house, but we are hysterical right now. And we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow, about the Passover preparations, but it's meant to make you nervous. That if you are feeling nervous, that's okay. That's what you're supposed to feel, because that's how the game of Passover works. It's, if you are not feeling some pressure about something, find something. Like your matzah is not good enough, or you haven't cleaned well enough, and whatever is making you nervous around Passover, it's good. Just let that be. And I want to just share this thought before I even share other thoughts. Like this is off script, as usual. And we'll get there. So before I just want to say that the entire day of Passover and the preparation, I'm feeling a bit nervous about this and about it, and I'm running from here to there, and it's part of what makes Passover a serious and an immersive experience. There is no experience in our tradition like Passover. Most celebrations are geared in our tradition, in our synagogues, in our institutions. And Passover, the strongest thing, is actually a meal that happens at home, at our own home, in the home of some friends, family. But there is something about like this idea of celebrating at home, this idea of a meal. Think about this concept that we have been carrying for more than 3,000 years. Of course, it comes from a sacrifice, and if you are interested in knowing about that, come tomorrow to Torah study. Now, that being said, not that we're going to talk about that, but we are in the book of Vayikra, in Leviticus, and it's all about sacrifices. How did the carpenter, or why did the carpenter refuse to follow the blueprint? Because he saw a cut corner and thought it was an instruction. Not that good. Well, now the real question is how you get someone to follow instructions. That has been Noga's quest for the last 16 years of her life. And now, family issues aside, how you really get someone to follow instructions. Our Parashat Tzav says, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe le'emor, Adonai spoke to Moses saying, Tzav et Aron ve'et banav le'emor, Sot Torah ta'ala, I'ola. Command Aaron and his sons, thus, this is the ritual of the burnt offering. Command them. Command, such a strong and unusual word. Rashi, the medieval commentator, notices that the use of the word command, tzav et Aaron ubanav, command them, denotes the urgency of fulfilling that commandment. They were preoccupied about something, so there was some urgency. So they say, tzav, command them. An additional look into the use of that word puts it into the context of the three different words that are used to communicate mitzvot. Vayomer, Vayedaver, and Tzav. Say, Vayomer, Vayedaver, speak, and Tzav, command. Noticeably, while all three words are used to communicate commandments, the word Tzav, command, isn't used as often as the other two. I think that This is not a coincidence, but rather a very wise choice. Unfortunately, in order to prove my point, I have a great example that emerged from the midst of the turbulent news in Israel. This week, the Israeli government passed a law that says that security guards in hospitals will be allowed not only to check people's bags for the sake of security, but also during the holiday of Pesach, of Passover, to check them for chametz, which means leavened products or non-kosher for Passover food items. The immediate reaction to this very, to say at least, problematic law was is done for the sake of cultural sensitivity. Well, anyway, the immediate reaction was that the directors of the most prominent Israeli hospitals came out and said that given the right to check for people's bags that the guards were going to have right now, they were going to forbid their guards to check for chametz. There is a fundamental balance between freedom and commandedness. This reminded me of the story of the Hasidic rabbi Levi Yitzchak, who was searching for smugglers before Passover. He wandered through the streets of the Jewish quarter, quietly asking around for contraband tobacco, brocades, and embroideries. Despite the illegality of these items, he was able to find everything he wanted for the right price. However, when he asked for bread or whiskey, the businessmen he had met with previously were not willing to sell anything to him. They explained that they had already gotten rid of the chametz, or leavened bread, in preparation for the upcoming holiday. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was amazed at the devotion and faithfulness of the Jewish people, despite the fact that there were no police, guards, courts, or jails enforcing the commandment to observe Passover. Every Jew kept the laws to the utmost. This was in stark contrast to the Tsar's border guards and tax commissioners who were dedicated to his commands. Yet, illegal items were still widely available. As the rabbi looked up to heaven, he praised God for creating such a faithful and committed nation. He marveled at how the Jewish people had been following this commandment for over 3,000 years without any external enforcement. This is key. The rabbi's failed quest for bread and whiskey had led him to witness something truly remarkable: the unwavering dedication of the Jewish people to their observances and identity. There is a fundamental sense of commandedness that can only come from a narrative or from a labor of joy. I will repeat that. There is a sense of commandedness, a fundamental sense of commandedness that can only come from a narrative, from the stories that we tell, or from a labor of joy. And it cannot be achieved, it cannot happen by decrease, when you are told, when you are commanded. Maimonides, the Jewish medieval philosopher, speaks about fulfilling mitzvot for their own sake, without hoping for any reward. The joy of fulfilling a mitzvah is not a reward, but rather an act by itself. We extract the joy out of the act. Now, there is some very interesting science behind this. In a study conducted by Professor Mark Lepper from Stanford, children were given magic markers and paper and were happy to draw. Some of those children received a reward, and some were never told that there could be an associated reward. Interestingly, when the kids were called back to enjoy the same activity, but the reward was removed, the children who never expected the reward went on drawing happily. But those who were previously offered a reward found much less interest in the activity as a whole. One of the chemicals released in our brain is called dopamine. Have you heard about dopamine? When we do something that we enjoy, the nerve cells in our brain release dopamine, right? Professor Andrew Uberman, also from Stanford University, explains that when we start associating an activity or work that we do with a reward, gradually our brain starts associating the timing of dopamine release with when we expect the reward. The dopamine goes to the reward, not to the action anymore. Thus, in time, instead of releasing dopamine throughout the activity and finding satisfaction in it, the release of dopamine disconnects from the activity itself, making it much less enjoyable. There is a tremendous value to the ability to experience reward by engaging in activities as opposed to by hoping for an after-the-fact outcome or by giving ourselves some reward before engaging in the activity. It also seems to be absolutely ineffective to engage in an activity for the fear of not fulfilling a decree. Going back to, are you nervous about the Seder? However, we learn that there is an unmatchable power to the sense of connectedness that emerges from engaging in an activity and in actions that nurture the narrative of who we are. And I will draw the paper, and I want to share a very specific message. And I hope that you can take it home. I'll save you 2 pages. We constantly say, or hope, or at least I hear people constantly speaking about the obligations that we have, and that we need to command certain things to our children, and we need to communicate those things to our children. And it turns out that when we put commandments as such, and we hope for a reward, they don't really happen. The world doesn't work that way. And while we know that, we keep trying. We keep trying. We raise our voices. I hear parents saying, I want my children to be Jewish. And I'm telling them they need to be Jewish. And how is it going so far? There's a Jewish formula that we somehow tend to often ignore for success in commandedness. And it doesn't come actually from the use of the word commandment. Vayedaber, he will speak and he will say, they also communicate commandments. They come just in a different way. There's a sense of commandedness that can only come from taking joy out of what we are doing. From taking joy out of what we are doing, not about what's going to be the outcome. You're going to be a good Jew. You're going to be a great student. We are sending you now to this crazy 6 times a week ninja activity because you're going to be an athlete. Like, just go for a run and enjoy it. And committedness, sense of connection, of commitment, will emerge from that joy. Then there's one more component. Rabbi Gamliel used to say that the one who doesn't say Pesach Matzah or Maraor, the one who doesn't say Passover, Matzah or bitter earth, is like he then fulfilled the obligation of Passover. Now, what's the real obligation of Passover? What's the most important mitzvah in Passover? Go for it, James. We're going to listen to James for 1 second. Say to tell the story. Say to tell the story. Say to tell the story. You are absolutely right. Thank you for sharing. Now, the most important mitzvah of Passover is to tell the story. Now, is that because then our children will hear? No. It's because the stories that we tell are transformative for us. It's because the stories that we tell, they ultimately shape our own identity and describe, at the end of the day, our own actions. And our children will learn from our actions, and also from the stories that we tell, and from the stories that we allow to shape ourselves, that allow for them to shape our own identities. So I want to wish to all of us to take a moment as we approach this Passover and to think about not what someone else needs to do, but about the obligation to tell the story. And how we are going to tell the story. And what are the stories that we tell? What are the stories of freedom that we tell? And what are the actions that we extract big joy from them? The commitments that we extract big joy from them. And maybe in that place, from that place, we will experience the freedom to choose, to commit. And we will be able to communicate that also to the next generation. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. We'll continue our service on page 588 with Aleinu Leshabech. If you're under the age of 13 years old, we would like to invite you to open the ark for Aleinu 587. It's your birthday today.
It is. Happy birthday.
Okay, just open. All these
And this
incredible
one's
humans.
birthday is Monday.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגדול עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. And you can close the doors of the ark very, very, very gently. And everybody, before you leave this space, you need to do a gift with the cantor. You need to give 5 to the cantor. You cannot live without 5 to the cantor.
Awesome.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. At this point, we take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. We think of those during the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva. And we invite you, if you are during one of these periods of time, to rise and to show the name of the person that you are remembering. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise. If you are during the cycle of the first 11 months, first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. you have a yortzeit, yes. Thank you for sharing. If you have yortzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year and year past, please rise and share with us who are remembering.
The congregation offers its condolences to Richard Bornstein on the death of his uncle, Stefan Bornstein. Richard Kennemer, Ethel Schenker, Varda Tzatchi, Rabbi Tlalit Shavit, Jack Long, Virginia Larson, Ph.D., Miriam Moorer, Bob Sturman, Lenora Wang, Adam Richard Spilka, Shlomo Isips, Howard Levine, Barbara Lombard, Claire London, Drago Herman, Merle Greenwald, Samuel Grinwald, Anita Kamula, Bryce Lyon, Edna Stone, Miriam Davis, Lauren Janovich, Janet Woll, Charlene Kilgore, Ezra Satit Satchi, Gideon Hoffer, Alvin Kramer Siegel, Velastra Vejanovich, Galina Buturina, Karen Imbalzano, Lillian Berman, Robert Bruce Myers, Abraham Karras, Scott Safadi, Norman Green, Marilyn Silverman, Leslie Heinal, David Green, Jeannie Porish, Estelle Abrams, Spencer Caney, Arthur Cherdak, John Ivers, Marilyn Handelman, Kay Dameron, Nira Marome, Andrea Cameron, Ziba Feruzin, Rosella Newton, Linda Sherry, Fred DeCastro, Sherry Skihan, Larry Eisen, Harry Gross, Michael Taub, Bela Kent, Elizabeth Bown, Father Conwyn McCurran, Gerald Friedland, Iris Beckerman, Kathleen Marie Dusenberry, Kathleen Cunningham, Mira Bashi. And now you can support our community by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avilim, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yikadash Shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei techol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lomei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudisha, brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma, v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, b'imru, amen.
In the memories of your dear ones, we always have blessing in your life. Zichram Baruch. You be seated.
It's our pleasure to invite up Aviva Paul to come and share some announcements with us. And Ariella is coming up too. Ariella. Aurelia. I'll get it there, right?
Too many. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Eat the microphone, right? Is this working? Okay.
There you go.
So these are a few announcements, but you also have your handouts. So the complete announcements are on the back there, or you can check out the temple website. Tomorrow, Saturday, March 31st, April 1st, tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. There's Torah study in the library, and it's followed by Shabbat morning services as Mackenzie Dunlap's called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah at 10:30. Mazel tov to the family and to Mackenzie. On Thursday, April 6th, we have the second night congregational Seder at 5 p.m., so please join us. And that same day, as well as Wednesday, April 12th, please note the office is closed for Passover, as well as the ECC. On April 12th at 6 p.m., we have a Leaven Up service and breaking bread. You can register on the temple website. And on Sunday, April 16th at 3 p.m., we have all ages hopefully joining us for tea time with a twist. Also can be seen on the temple website. April 17th is a Monday. There's a community Yom HaShoah memorial service at 7 p.m. And on Tuesday, April 25th at 4:30, there's an Israel 75 celebration at the APJCC. Friday and Saturday, May 6th and 7th. Please save the date. Rabbi Nico is being installed, so that will be a really fantastic weekend. We hope you join us that first weekend in May. And also Sunday, April 30th, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., there's a Bay Area Israel at 75 celebration. Kulanu is going to have a special program and to accommodate the event, so please stay tuned to the calendar for more information about how we're all going to go and celebrate this together, I believe in San Mateo. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
One word about the event on the 25th here at JSB. We are part of the organization of that event, and that event has two parts. Has a part which is a celebration for Yom Ha'atzmaut that will happen for the Independence Day in the State of Israel, but there's an initial part we call Avdalah ben Zikaron L'Atzmaut. It's a ceremony of distinction between Memorial Day in Israel and Independence Day in Israel. For those that have been in Israel during those times, it's profound to be in that transition in which the nation is mourning because every single family has lost someone. The nation is mourning. And then all of a sudden there is the celebration of Independence Day. And when we often speak about first acknowledging a big part of our community, that we have many Israelis in our community, and to understand what's the Jewish Israeli experience that they have and what they yearn in terms of the connection to Israel. And also when we talk about getting to know the other Jewish civilization. There are like two big Jewish civilizations in the world. One is here in the United States, and the other one is in the State of Israel. So on the 25th, it's a Jewish celebration, and it's also a great opportunity to get to know and to experience and to connect with this part of Jewish culture that for some of us is a bit far, but for some of us is a big part of who we are, and you can take it. You can make it one of the stories that you tell about yourself.
And I would add one thing. The Yom HaShoah service on April 17th, that is at Temple Emmanuel. It is a community-sponsored event. All of the congregations here in our South Bay participate in that service.
That being said, page 120, we invite you, no, page 122, sorry. We invite you to rise for Kiddush. בערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי הוא שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Raise your cup. סברי חבריי וחברותיי, וכאן תהיו לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Shabbat Shalom. We make sure that you can drink it. Yeah, go for it. We make sure that nobody leaves this space without a blessing. We in Shabbat customary we bless our creation, we bless our children, we bless the connections that we make, the things that we have created. If your children are not here with you, if you have no children, you have parents. If you have no parents, you have friends. We are all creating relationships. So make sure that you don't stand alone. Make sure that you stand next to someone, that you make eye contact with someone. Cantor, you are not supposed to stand alone either. You need to stand with me or go find someone. Adopt a family. Adopt someone. So make sure that you don't stay alone and that you try to find someone with your eyes. As we say, may God inspire you to be like the loving parents of the house of Israel. ישימכם אלוהים כאפרים וכמנשה, ישימכם אלוהים כשרה רבקה רחל בלאה. And we say to all of them, יברככם אדוני וישמרכם. May God bless you and protect you. יאר אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונקם. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם. May you find within you God's presence always and may you make commitments. Make you choose to commit. May you find the stories that you want to tell. And may you find the freedom to make choices. And may God give you peace, wholeness. וישם לכם שלום. אדוני עוש לעמיו ייתן, אדוני יברך. May God bless all its peoples with peace. את עמו בשלום. שבת שלום, שבת שלום. May God bless everybody. Chavez. ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בתוכם ואנחנו נברך יה ואתה ועד עולם. יאי לה 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 יאי לה 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 יאי 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 לה Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom.